welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is white.
Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, everybody, we are back. Thanks again for watching the last show. Hope everybody enjoyed it. And with us now, we have a gentleman, Timothy Earl. We brought him on because one of the fascinating things for me is demonology, and he is all about demons and exorcism as the Advent International Order of the Exorcists. Oh, I think he's muted here.
There we go. Technology.
There we go.
So I just want to open up saying that the Chiefs are going to, exercise Tampa Bay.
There we go. That's right. The rivalry. I got that this weekend. That's
the rest of the show.
Yeah, I'm licking my wound still. I'm a Seahawk fan, so I'm still sitting back here. Just
He's been licking them for a while, but
he had a couple of good seasons. Come on.
But hey, it's not like our buddy David Potter. He's still licking the wounds because all of his best players are now playing for Tampa.
The best memes are coming out. When Tom Brady was going down to Florida, the best memes are coming out, and I forget the name of the quarterback that was there, but he says, "Hey, you're moving to Tampa? Get a hold of me. I live down there too."
I've
seen that.
Well, I know that you wanted to start off talking about demons, and I threw you right into football.
Oh no,
we're right around the corner.
That's how we like to run this show. It's one of we talk about it. It's stuff at the same time. It's just let things happen as they will, and it's good ribbon because it's. With everything that's gone on the last few months, it's just nice to have somewhat of a semblance to the way things used to be, trash talking each other about our favorite team.
Well, and I think that I really want to start off with the premise that myself and people like me are actually just real people.
Yep.
I want to tell everybody, let y'all know I am not ordained. I am what's called a layman. I am personally cradle Catholic, meaning I was born into Catholicism. Did the old altar boy thing and no, never was hit on by a priest. But we had I got into it. We were foster parenting, and it's a real easy way to entertain kids to take them ghost hunting. And this was in the 90s when it wasn't cool. But we started getting things on the tape and everything. So, it sparked your interest, and you really start getting into it. And then one of the foster kids opened up and said something to the priest, said something to father, and he grabs me by the collar and says, "Hey, come with me." And it's been downhill ever since. So yeah, it started innocently enough, just as a regular interest. Paranormal is an interesting thing to get into. It's everybody loves a good fright. And everybody, I think most people would really want to have some sort of paranormal experience until they actually have one. But when it comes to this ministry of deliverance or exorcism, a demonologist, by definition, studies demons. But most of our knowledge is traditionally by mentorship from bishops and priests. And what our job is to be sent first. So if somebody calls their priest, with the complaint that they think they have a demon in the house. We'll just say. Priest will call the bishop will call the order, or they everybody communicates, and I get the phone call, and I'll go first and interact with the family to find out what's really going on. So you can let your imagination run wild with you. That first off, drug abuse, right? Second off, people just playing games with their own minds. People playing games with each other. There was one, their infant child kept getting bites on them overnight, and they swore up and down it was a demon, and it turned out to be grandma. So
what?
Yeah,
I was going to say it's probably like the house cat or something like that. I was not going grandma in my who had grandma on their bingo card. It wasn't me.
No, she had onset dementia, and she was sneaking in the baby, the poor child. But yeah,
Austin Powers. I want to eat your baby. It's like, no, bad grandma.
Well, sacrificial right. But no, I mean you run into a whole lot of different things. You never know. Everything's a little different. I just did one. It was in one of the most haunted towns in Kansas, Atchison, Kansas, and this young couple bought a turn of the century house. Is actually erected in 1872, I think. They bought this house, and this guy's obviously a crackhead, but it's actually haunted, and these ghosts don't like him, so they're sitting there poking on him and getting his trigger, trying to get him to go insane to get him out of there. And there's nothing you can do until this guy decides he wants to clean up. In fact, there's a TV show I did for the History Channel, and it's called Breaking Mysterious. Kind of a I don't know if you know who Jimmy Church is.
That name sounds familiar.
He has a talk show,
Real familiar.
Paranormal, really into UFO. He hosted it. He's almost as big as Coast to Coast, but he hosted it. Long story short, they came to town. They followed me around for a couple of weeks on a case. And it was about a family who were struggling with addictions and alcoholism, but yet also had something demonic in their life. And so you can't treat any type of demonic activity unless you're treating the addiction also. And that's the things that's actually the premise of the show was things you don't think about behind the scenes. Everybody knows the priest goes and saves the day, right? But they don't think about people like me going and laying the groundwork and the foundation. I have to go and discern what's there. I have to interact with anything that's evil there. I am endowed to do certain types of exorcisms. There's different types. But I can't do major exorcism. So if you get possessed, you're on your own.
Yeah, and that was it was kind of going to bring it, like what you're talking about, because one of the underlying things I've always gone with is everybody talks. I've got some esoteric works behind me, Lesser Keys of Solomon. Everybody's, aren't you worried about being possessed? I've always been a big believer that you can't just be walking down the street one day and all of a sudden smack, suddenly you've got a demon attached to you. You have to welcome them in. You have to open yourself through addiction. There's something that you have to lower your guard to where they
invitation, right? Some sort of invitation. And that's why children, even if they could be possessed, they can't be damned. It's moreover an invitation. And they'll work you down though before possession. See, there's 5 stages to demonic activity. The first one's temptation. Everybody forgets about that one. The second one's going to be oppression. And that's where it's in your life and it's doing nasty things behind the scenes. I mean, your finances crash, your emotional wreck, you're losing all your relationships, you can't function at work, you lose your jobs, all sorts of, and mechanical malfunctions as well. I mean, just a horrible streak of bad luck. Then there's infestation, where they're actually present in the house and letting you know that they're there. Then there's partial possession and either full or perfect possession. And what that is perfect possession is where you finally give in and give yourself over to this entity. So
have you run into anybody like that you walk in right away and you're just like, whoa, I'm like, this
Whoa.
is, kind of like you do the back, like the Homer Simpson thing into the shrubs. You just start fading back. You're like, yeah, this one's
a bit much.
just a minute, I
gotta
got
go.
somebody sneaking in the door here. The dog's lit up. Perfect timing. So, no, I have not actually. I have not came across anybody that was possessed, not even partially. Now, I know that they had been partially possessed, but not in my presence. There was an exorcism that I was doing. It's a simple exorcism, which is on a place or a thing. I was performing an exorcism on a house in, believe it or not, Geronimo, Oklahoma. But the entity started really oppressing the victim, the little old lady, and coming onto her and started kind of choking her. So I had to go over and normally I had to go over and perform a quick, simple. Well, it was actually a major exorcism on her, and then call the police and tattle on not the police, the priest, and tattle on myself. But the bishop let me off the hook. So, but no, I've never seen actually anybody truly possessed. That's just very rare, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, I figure, because Hollywood TV, they like to pump this up like this is a common occurrence, like we're having the movie Exorcist all the time. I was telling the guy we talked, I can't remember what episode it was. It was a few episodes ago. It's like you can find some of them on the dark web, the legit video recordings that the Vatican doesn't want to get out. You can find these, and you can tell when they've been staged and when they're not.
So, I actually did some courses from Vatican courses, and yeah, they show some of these videos that I think you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them you can just actually find on YouTube. There's a couple of legit ones on YouTube.
Yep.
And I have not been in the presence of somebody who was going through an exorcism to where all the paranormal activity started happening and taking place. Like, I've personally saw some of the videos where people came off the bed, people spoke in tongues, people spoke in Aramaic, which is a dead language. People spoke in Latin, and these are people who had no business doing that. The most I've personally experienced is when performing a simple exorcism, objects flying across the room, people getting pushed, shoved, scratched, hit, punched. But the audio, I mean, things that you hear during it get pretty wild as well. The growls, the hisses, I had one correct my Latin. That was embarrassing, but oh yeah, they learn your Latin before you try it on a demon. It's my
So
lesson.
you came back and told you no.
Yeah, I'm learning Latin actually. Is what I was posted on there is like Duolingo. It's one just as we're starting to do this show and other shows, I'm like, this is actually going to come in handy because I'm going to start through research. I'm going to start coming across a lot of Latin, and so I've actually been taking it and learning it just for the fact of when I see the words, now I know what's being said. I can hear it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here.
There's so many people who go in and do a Latin mass. They know everything by heart, but they don't know what it's saying.
Yep. They know the words. They just don't know what the actual meaning is behind it.
And I kind of get lost in it as well. I got to be honest with you, because a lot of times it rolls off my tongue and I'm not even thinking about it. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
I picked up Rosetta Stone once and tried it, and it was actually too hard for me. So I set it down. I'm that lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's every night I do about 15, 20 minutes, in that app, to learn, so it's a Duolingo app. But one of the ones, before I get too sidetracked on this thing, I was going to ask you, do you remember back in 91, ABC had their 2020 special, The Real Exorcism? Do you remember that?
I do, actually. I do. Yeah.
What's your opinion? Do you think that she was faking, or do you think that there was something to that? Because I'm on the fence. I think that she just really needed some medical help, and she happened to just see some stuff like The Exorcist, and it actually just fed into this.
And that happens a lot. I'm not gonna say yes or no. I know you're walking to, I can't.
No, you don't need. I don't even put you on the spot. It's just
I can't think of the show. I remember it taking place and happening. I remember watching it, but no, I think you nailed it on the head, and that's why there's a lot of desertion that needs to take place prior to major exorcism, which is also why priests and bishops do it, because they make sure that that's taking place.
There's some guy like me that's done a couple episodes of Duolingo app, we learn a little Latin. I go in with my crucifix and throwing around some water I just took out of the tap, and
it's all an intent, man. Maybe you can come in like a boss and scare the crap out of a demon. Take charge.
Now, this is one, it's the generalized question that most people throw out there. Have you seen a demon? It's, I've always wondered, because it's always been said, the whole point is mimicry. It's supposed to lure you in, make you think you're talking to grandma, make you think you're talking to a long, dead uncle, somebody for you to welcome in and just bring it and then attach themselves to you. Is it easy to tell somebody a way to just see it and just go, hey, this is a telltale sign. You probably really need to slow down and not go any further?
Not always, but often. Somebody recently that I have a group, a paranormal group page, and it's just open just for people to talk about paranormal places in Kansas and things to do. And people often come in and state their problems, and people get mad when I hit mute on somebody telling them, giving some bad advice, but you know what, go make it.
Yeah.
But one person did. They actually shared on there, and then in a roundabout way ended up calling me anyway. But what was happening is it was mimicking family members. And so Dad's convinced that it's family members from past. They're convinced that there's a child involved in a lady, yet there's paranormal activity taking place in a specific child's bedroom. And this thing is actually appeared as light.
Wow.
Multiple times, and they have it on video in this child's bedroom, and that doesn't happen anyplace else. Disembodied voices do. So that to me is a telltale sign that you absolutely have something demonic in that house, and don't challenge it, don't say, me, not my child. Don't bring in a ghost hunting team to ghost hunt it. That's the worst thing. Exactly. The invitation. Come out and talk to us. Come out and do it. We want to be scared. Come out and do this. And you give this thing an invitation, it's going to take it. So there are telltale signs. Yeah.
What would you recommend for somebody in that instance to where, I'm not going to say that's what's going on. My son has seen something that he would have described as like the shadow figure, and it said, it freaked him out. But what I did is I had something. I basically created a talisman for him. I spoke a blessing into it and just said, keep this by your bed. It's a ward, just use this. It's not going to touch it, and so he's kept it by his bed for that thing. But it's just, what would you, is there a suggestion that you'd have? Because like you said, you don't want to go in just like, I want you to come to me, leave him alone, come over here to me. And next thing you know, I'm spinning around.
Use your kids against you is what they'll do. So, I don't know what the prayer said or what the talisman was, but I don't think that your approach is bad at all. You say prayers, we use obviously religious artifacts. You see some crosses hanging here. We absolutely do want to build the confidence of the people, but if somebody's experiencing a haunt and it's bothering them, the first thing to do is reach out for help. Just absolutely, call a priest. Problem with the Catholic Church is all the priests have made themselves unapproachable, right? You get, nobody wants to go up and talk to a priest, especially if they're not Catholic. And you know what? is the church's fault, hands down. And I want to be very clear about something too. I was raised Roman Catholic, but I am now old Roman Catholic, which is an independent movement because we got pissed off about what the church has been doing. In a sense, we're kind of progressive in a sense, but we're also holding on to some of the older traditions. We have a nod to the Vatican. We are in communion with the Vatican, and I absolutely do work with the Roman Catholic Church. But long story short, groups like us, the order, and there's some other orders, there's multiple orders are available, and we try to make ourselves approachable. So if somebody's having problems, just don't try to take it on yourself. There's no need to try to, everybody's going to be curious. If you're really curious, you want to know what's there, let somebody like me come in and help you find out what's there. We can perform a discernment, which is I use prayer and rites and the canon law to come in and kind of slap it down and order it to reveal itself and to show us what it is without giving an invitation. And it takes a couple tries, but we usually find out what's there.
So are you kind of somewhere between like Opus Dei and the Catholic, the modern, Catholic? Are you kind of somewhere in that spectrum, like I said, your beliefs?
I could go there. I suppose so. I'm not exactly slapping myself on the back.
Self-flagellate. Like I said, I go, that's a bit extreme when you're basically giving yourself the cat of nine tails, on your back.
But.
Always.
I thought about that cheeseburger today.
But I've always had a question, and nobody seems to. I've always had a question, and nobody seems to want to dabble in. So, do you think 50% of the 50 of the people who go crazy are actually demonically possessed, and they just go to the crazy house and they just start giving them meds instead of trying to do an exorcism or something of that? Because if you're talking to somebody and somebody talking to you, it could be just crazy, but I don't know.
So I think your numbers are a little heavy on possessed, and there's unfortunately there's no real numbers, right? Who keeps metrics? But the number is absolutely higher than 1%. I would say this is just me talking. I have an angelic ambition. It's more like you. He thinks it's more like half of them got to be possessed and just misdiagnosed. So somewhere in between there, I do think that there's the opposite where, as like the 2020 special, you're alluding to it's mental illness and the exorcism was just playing into that person's fears. And absolutely that happens. Absolutely. I don't know. I am very skeptical. Skeptical.
I got you.
I chewed on a Benadryl because of all the coughing I was doing earlier, and now my tongue's going numb. So, anyway,
we call that alcohol, but hey, we'll go with Benadryl.
I got a meeting at 4 a.m. I can't do that. Otherwise, you'd be sitting here with a wine. I am Catholic, so but anyway,
extended mass.
You got me off on a different direction. Now I don't even know.
I know. I'm sorry.
What?
I got him completely sidetracked.
Oh, I am
skeptical
about people when they say they're being possessed. I have had a few cases come to me with the claim that they were, and I ate right through them quickly. I won't play into that. If somebody feels like they're being possessed, we're going to go sit down with the psychologist first, and you're going to be diagnosed. Now, I do have psychologists and a psychiatrist that I work with, and they do believe that possession is real. I can't say I know everything that they say or do or use to make that determination, but I trust them. And I've only taken maybe 3 people to them for that review, and all three were absolutely just nuts. One was just wanting attention, was faking. So,
and I like that you go to that approach, because that's one of the important things. Like we have friends that are in the paranormal community that do the ghost investigations, spirit investigations, and they do that same thing where they go in it with not, you have to have a healthy, skepticism of going into it, because if you don't, it's real easy to fall for every little dust orb. I mean, every little thing that happens, you're like, oh my God, I got all this evidence. No, you got a lot of stuff that looks like it.
Pareidoia,
Yep.
You look at something and it looks like it's a face or something, and I'm susceptible to that. I think we all are. And and now back when I started, it was easy to identify fakes. The technology today,
it's hard.
I don't even try. I say, cool catch. I don't even try.
Yeah,
but
it's
so
it's that, and you get that, and terrible pun here, you get demonized for pointing it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't connect with most people who ghost hunt or they're paranormal investigators. I can't connect with them. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I have the endorsement of no less than 5 bishops. Been training in this for I don't know how long, and then I give a piece of advice to somebody, and it's against everything that they want to believe in, and I'm an asshole. So
but that's the thing. It's just the part about you where your experience comes in handy is, if, like I've told several people, if you don't throw out all the stuff that's just ridiculous, that doesn't exist, it makes everything bad. I mean, it's that one, you can make an amazing dinner, amazing soup, or if you throw one bad ingredient in there, it taints the entire thing. It's no longer good. You have to throw it out. You can't you can't do that. And like you said, if I go from that where I try to ensure that everything I got, I find, if it's not valid, I just toss it. I just keep going until I find something. And when you do it, you have that one case. Then when you present it, it's going to be so much more believable and so much more impactful when you lay out this case that you have, because now you're like, wow, this is legitimate stuff.
But then it does kind of suck when you have something that your whole heart is into, and you just know it's real, but what do you see? I can't see that. Or what do you hear? I can't hear that.
Yep.
You just want to ring the person, but everybody's going to look and experience something a little different. So just try to give the respect of that. But when and somebody's calling that a spirit, it's orbs are real. They absolutely are, but you can't walk out into a field and have all these dusts going and whatever.
Yeah, every time you walk out there, I just captured 753 orbs tonight, and you're like, no. I'm like, you most likely caught a whole lot of bugs flying out in your spotlight. And that, if filming it looks like it, but you probably caught the one or two, that are legitimate ones. But yeah, no, I'm like, I like the things. It's like, if we can get rid of the bogus ones, it makes the ones that we do capture so much cooler, so much more interesting to look at, because it's a legitimate thing. It's not pretend.
So do you ghost hunt? I mean, have you gone on ghost hunt? It's fun.
I really want to. I'm one of those. I really got involved with the Ghost Adventures show. It's when I first saw it, and that one, it kind of got my interest. I bought some equipment to have. I'm still looking for an opportunity, because most of the places I've gone, it's the commercialized, town tour where they take you to the local bar that's said to have the town drunk from 1942 that'll occasionally move the bar stool. There's not really a whole lot there. I want to go to some of these where you get to the infirmaries, you get to the insane asylums, where you're actually getting, crystal clear voices.
So, Ghost Adventures, the bishop that I actually report to, His Grace James Cloud, Archbishop James Cloud, has actually been on the show a few times. And the bishop that I got into a big fight with It was nasty. I have to admit, I kind of embarrassed myself. Has been on the show as well, but you know, and I'll make you jealous for a moment. I do have a friend that I haven't been ghost hunting in a while. I've been kind of yearning to myself, but I do have a friend that I meet every once in a while, and we'll kind of meet in between at a known haunted location and practice our wares, so to speak. And it's really neat to try out some of that new technology, because technology is absolutely great. I mean, some of these things that have come out are, in my mind, spot on. They actually work. Some are just absolutely nothing but trash, you know.
Yeah,
you know, he's got money, and it takes money to buy all that gear, right? But the biggest wit is yourself, you know, in a recorders. So, but
yeah,
I do.
No, go ahead. No, I didn't mean to cut you off there. No, it's what I really want to do. It's going to be, I think it's going to be fun. I mean, we talk about, we got to find a place, because Austin's going to be the one that's going to take off running.
What?
I already know it, because you've already talked about it. Like, because the episode, we remember the dream catcher. He's like, if that thing starts spinning, I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm out. I'm like, you're going to be the one that we're going to hear this, and we're going to look back and Austin's out. The door's going to slam and he's gone.
I have a so I've been coming up with show ideas, and I have actually I have a fistful, and I just ran him by a producer guy I know, and he's actually pitching them right now. So cross your fingers or get a series. But I do have one idea that I actually wanted to do self-produce, and that's Drunk Rednecks Ghost Hunting.
I'm already in love with that title.
Absolutely. So I got these guys, these friends, you know, the old awesome buddies you don't want to admit that you know. And I got somebody who would scream and run, and he wants in. So, and they
awesome.
You know, pitch him, slamming down a few, take him to the local sanitarium, turn him loose with some gear, and just let them take care of themselves, you know.
Got some big guy with a camo and a beard, just sitting here, just rocking himself, crying because it's just you left him inside a cabin all alone.
Well, you know, you say that, and you know, as we're prior to the show, I mentioned, you know, a lot of people want to have that paranormal experience until they have one.
Yep.
One of the things that people don't realize, and certainly people who ghost hunters or those who want to help others don't realize, is that when a family has paranormal activity, when a family has paranormal activity in their house and they don't like it, they are suffering. They absolutely are suffering. And then when you go in and you take care of business and you clean the place out, they will actually go through all the phases of PTSD, depression, disassociation. I was talking to this one woman who I had helped. Her husband is a president at a bank, just to let you know the type of lifestyle that they live. And they'd go to church, they're the good Christians, Protestants, you know, and when they absolutely had something that I personally felt was demonic in their home, and we came in, we took care of business. She called me up about a couple of weeks later. She said that she was in traffic, you know, at a huge intersection, all these people around, and she just felt like she couldn't connect with a single person that she laid eyes on, because now she knew something. She was part of something that nobody else would believe. Nobody believes that. But the one thing we also have to remember is, depending on which poll you want to quote, Huffington Post is the one that most people quote. Up to 70% of the people in the U.S. believe that there's something to paranormal activity, and up to 53%, 57% of people feel like they've actually had a paranormal experience. So, you know, one in two, you know, you walk into a store, you know, either believes in it or feels like they've had an experience, but it's so taboo you can't talk about it. You just can't. So
it's definitely gotten to where you can talk a lot more openly without people just immediately rolling their eyes and walking away from you.
So my phone was ringing. It was
my
day job. my day job is I'm a procurement agent, and I'm a procurement agent for a major aerospace corporation, a $9 billion corporation. And,
Oh, wow.
I get to travel. I'm blessed with traveling the world because of this. I've been to Romania, spent 2 weeks in the back roads of Romania, visiting different shops and
Oh,
stores.
that's cool.
And I went to that the Black Forest right up there on the border with Hungary, and visited Vlad the Impaler's palace, Vlad the Impaler's castle, but that really wasn't his castle. That's a tourist trap. Anyway, long story short, I did my first TV show, and it was really cool. And then it aired. I had my 15 minutes, and it's actually 8 minutes long by the time you got the commercials out. But I had my 15 minutes. I was kind of bragging. One of the VPs of this company reached out to me, and she was she from our UK office. Says, that is so cool that you did that, and here's a vice president of sourcing saying that, pat me on the back that I went and did this ghost hunting show, and it was so cool, and she wanted to talk about it. I don't think that would have happened 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago.
Oh, no, it would have been HR. Keep an eye on this one.
Yeah. Well, they do anyway.
Yeah. Even more so. Yeah. But he's going out in the middle of the woods for ghost hunt. We got to keep an eye on this guy.
Yeah. Well,
man.
Yeah, it's a weird industry to be involved in. I mean, it really is, especially right now. Everybody wants a TV show. There's some you can't flip the Learning Channel on without hitting a ghost hunting show, and now they're going to that Discovery Plus.
Yeah, there's Destination America. They're everywhere.
It's so much bad advice on those shows, but some of them are really entertaining.
Yes, I'm a big, I want to get kind of transition to demonology, but I'll keep this going a little bit here. It's because I've always been opposed to that one where it's the demanding, I want you to use my energy. I want you to come here. Is this the provoking one? I've never thought was a great aspect. Like I was like, this is a really bad idea, especially with the demons saying, if you really encounter a demon, that's probably not the best thing to say. Come use my energy. I want you to come use me, and probably not the best route to take.
So, your boys from Ghost Adventures, we'll just pick on them for a little bit. And, they have come out and admitted that they've been ripped out of bed by their ankles. They have, lost relationships and absolutely gone through all this torment and oppression that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that there could be a chance that demons are still working through them in order to be able to embolden their audience to going out making some pretty bad decisions. But I don't know them well. I don't want to put any labels on them, but their admittance that princess, is just exactly what you're talking about. You tell a demon, come mess with me, they're going to come mess with you.
Yeah, you gave them the invitation. Now you're there. I've been trying to find a great segue. I wanted to get to that story, the story of the cat. Before I forget, I haven't really found a good segue to bring that in.
The analogy.
Yeah, the analogy of the cat. Yeah. I was like, love it.
So for everybody watching or who will watch, we were talking about incubus and succubus. Okay, that's how we got into this the analogy. So an incubus is a demon who has sex with men and actually rapes men. Okay, and I've come across one of those. And then a succubus is a demon that would have sex with a woman. They're really the same demons, right? They're just doing whatever they want to do. But people will call these things into their lives purposely. And there's even a fetish out there of people doing this. Now, having said that, some of these people started complaining when the demons abused them, and they couldn't understand why. So the analogy is why does a demon do what it does? It's akin to a cat killing a mouse when it has a bowl full of food. And it doesn't want the food. It's going to need to eat, but it's in its nature to kill that mouse. It's not going to stop killing. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so yeah, people are strange. People love that interaction, I guess.
What do you, when you go to actual like demonology, to describing the demons, is there a certain one that you more tend to go with as a classification? I mean, because there's all moderns, there's ancient Mesopotamian, the Abrahamic. You can go through all these different things. What do you typically like seem to be? I like this one.
Well, you mentioned the lesser keys of Solomon, right? And obviously that's specific to demons as well. Now, you just want to make sure you understand that it's not a canonical text, and
Yes.
that we don't know the root of that. Nobody really knows where it came from, but it really first appeared roughly early 1800s. So it is just not an ancient text, but it sure is interesting, because some of the demons that it lists out there absolutely do have root in Christian and Eastern mythology. So, there's the baseline demons that everybody thinks about is the ones that fell from heaven, right? They warred with God. They didn't want to bow to man. They warred with God. They felt that they should be treated like gods. God kicked them out, and they're to rule the world. It's called the principality. We live in the principality of these demons ruling the world right now. Well, there are other demons mentioned in Christian text as well. One of them is the Watchers. Now, they're only briefly mentioned in Genesis when it comes to the Nephilim. But the Watchers were angels who were to watch over humankind, and they fell in love with women, had children with these women, and these children were giants, which were Nephilim. God got pissed. He smited the Nephilim, and he damned the angels, damned the angels to the earth. Now, it's a completely different sect of angels than those that originally fell with Satan, right?
Yep.
Now, you also have the Nephilim, which were part angel. They're walking the earth. Okay. Now, you also have other demons that are called, you've heard of the phrase evil incarnate?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So a demon can actually be created. And what this is it's an energy that's created one way or the other, and it takes on a persona that you bestow on it. A lot of this negative activity that happens in homes is one of these entities, and it's created by a human. The catchphrase that people are calling it now is poltergeist. I don't know why they got there and got to it, but it's this thought form that's built off of human energy. Usually when it's done without intention, it's negative emotions that create this thing. So you got this ball of negative emotions of energy that absolutely is demonic. And a demon will actually use this ball of negative energy. In Eastern mysticism, they would create thought forms in the form of or animals that they worshipped or had reverence to. The Jews would actually create a Dybbuk, and you know the Dybbuk box.
Dybbuk boxes. Yep.
Okay, and that was actually an entity that they would create to protect themselves. So therefore, that's why when somebody else experiences this Dybbuk box, they have negative activity because it's trying to protect the people who created it. Does that make sense? It's going
Yep. Those are kind of like on the Dybbuk box. Just a little side note. Do you? I mean, the ones that you see them all over. You can get them on eBay. You can get them all. Do you? Are these mostly just novelty things people had made? Because you always see these stories of like, I bought this Dybbuk box and now my house is just haunted. I can't, things are flying off the walls.
Some of them are real. I've absolutely came across, haunted objects. Now I haven't come across a box like that, but I know of a sect of witches. One of them I actually knew in the early days, and she was with the coven, I actually don't have any hate with anybody who's an alternative religion. I mean, that's their thing. I'm not going to belittle them by any means. I will absolutely always believe that my faith is superior, because obviously that's what I believe in. They're going to believe theirs is superior, but we can always be mutually respectful.
Mm-hmm.
But so this gal was part of this covenant. She told me that they had to basically sit down and have a long talk with one of the other witches in the covenant, because she was actually calling in and binding spirits and putting them in these boxes and then selling them.
Ooh.
So there are, even in an exorcism, one of the first things that we're going to do is bind all the spirits that are in the house, whether it's a demon or not, because we don't want them moving around doing things. So there's a way to bind spirits, and you can absolutely bind them and attach them to an object. You can't kill a demon. You can bind a demon. You can cast a demon. You can attach it to an object and then cast that object. So there's different ways you can do this. So they're using that to create some of these boxes that you see on eBay that are up for auction. And I saw a video of one guy who got one in, and I to me, it looks genuine. I think it's real. And he was opening it, and all this paranormal activity all around him starts taking off.
Yeah, I think that's the video I was talking about too. It's like the guy, he just opened it, and all of a sudden he's just like, "Oh my god!" The door just swings open, stuff comes flying out, and I wanted to ask you, is like, do you think that this is something that and then like in your instance, how would you approach that? Like, I just bought this box, now stuff off my shelf here is just flying across the room. What do I do?
Well, the easy answer is to get rid of the box. Right.
Burn it.
But does the spirit go with that? Is it still attached? And that's what you said. I bought the Dybbuk box.
If it's bound to the box, it absolutely would. Burn it. You could burn it. Sometimes that's a good idea. Sometimes it's a bad idea.
Because I've heard that releases it, from its binding.
Right. Honestly, that's what I would do. I would absolutely release the spirit, because if a spirit's been bound by a witch to a box, I'm pretty confident it would be a human spirit, and it's acting, and whoever that is you who died. Somebody stuck your ass in a box. You're pissed. What are you going to do?
You're a pissed off genie is what you are.
You're Jin.
Yeah.
So, I would absolutely release that spirit and cast it away. Now, casting it away doesn't necessarily cast it to hell. It's just, you got to leave here. Right. So that's what I would do. I think is the humane thing to do.
Okay.
My girlfriend won't let me go anywhere haunted or any places like that, because she thinks somebody's going to attach to me. I'm going to bring it home. How easy is it for a demon or an entity to attach to you?
They only hang out for like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. That's the average. No, I'm serious. I'm not making that up.
I thought you were just making it up, just like a random. Just about 23 hours.
No, it's true. So I get a lot of ghost hunters that say, "Hey, I went to this place and now I got stuff happening now." And say, don't call me until after 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, if still happening, get with me. But they do. I mean,
it's funny.
Okay, so
they're bored. I mean, they're curious. They're all that. So, and I want to predicate that. So, Catholicism, we believe in purgatory, which is neither heaven or hell. You're in between, right? And prayer is a good way to release or help the souls that are in purgatory. But it also fits in, just folds right into this paranormal, or the spirits roaming the earth. They say that Bible doesn't talk about this, so it can't be real. Well, the Bible actually does talk about some human, on 2 occasions, human spirits come back and visit. So, and then in the book of Enoch, which was, or Enoch, however you want to pronounce it, which used to be canonical, they're absolutely there's human spirits. So, if you go to a haunted location and something that comes home with you, it's most likely going to be a human spirit, and it's going to leave. Now, if it hangs out and it's bothering you, and meaning is just scaring you, but you're not having any of the other signs that I mentioned, you can reason with it. And if reasoning with it doesn't happen, then you just got to tell them to go.
Hey, look, you just
Okay.
leave me alone. You can have this nice warm house. Just leave me alone. You gotta go.
Look, you can hang out, but you get
Gotta
creepy on me. You know, no bathrooms a no go. You know, when I'm in there, you're out. Yeah, no, you can absolutely. You know, predominantly. I mean, if you think over the history of humankind, I mean, we've been living and dying on this earth a long time. There's going to be a lot, but you know, then again, there's also the aspect asshole in life, asshole in death. So we come a lot of asshole spirits that, you know, people would mistake as demonic, but they're not. They're human, and they're just there to, you know, murderers and rapists and all those things are still who they were after they died. And if they haven't gone to hell, they will be torturing you as well.
That's a good point, because I've looked at that too, you know, because through paranormal research, and you've done this through that. One of the biggest questions I've always had. So you went over to Romania. You're hanging out there. Why is it that everybody expects a result to come back in English? They always do these things. They're like, tell me why you're here. And then they're like, did you hear it? It said, because I died. They don't speak English. I go, how are you getting an English response? And so,
well, speaking in tongues. You nailed. You're right. You know, I think that it was Ghost Hunters Europe or whatever. They want to go they go into the castles and they're screaming out all these ghosts in English. And
I mean, you might as well just be talking gibberish. They don't understand English. You need to have somebody that speaks possibly Romanian, possibly Germanic, something that they are actually going to. Oh, that's what he was saying. I thought he was just yelling at me.
You know, and that's a fair point.
Maybe they just be like, no, I don't know. Maybe they just be like, I'm gonna jump in this idiot anyways. I don't know what he's saying, but let's go in this idiot.
Yeah. I got nothing, man.
I know.
So, you know, demon's going to know different languages. They're going to know any language you want. But so there's that answer. We can carve that out. But yeah, no, a human spirit who died. You know, is there some sort of transcendental knowledge that, you know, that you get, you know, because your energy, a spirit who spoke a different languages, energy. Now, do you somehow
that could be, yeah, that would make sense too, you know, because it's. And so I'm just trying to think, you know, without getting to, you know, because we could spend, you know, 3 hours talking about this stuff. Do you think most people, when they encounter these things through your field, we're dealing with the lower, you know, the low brass, you know, we're not, you know, you're not going to deal with the upper brass, because everybody's like, I've been possessed by the devil. I'm pretty sure the devil didn't spend time going to some random person in some little podunk town in the middle of nowhere. I'm pretty sure they're going to reserve their time, their energy on something a little bit bigger than just little old grandma, you know, in some, you know, small church.
So I have not experienced what I think would have been. I will tell you though, I have experienced true demon. There is a bishop that described to me, when you come in contact with a true fallen, okay, we're not talking about something that was created, something that the demons created. We're talking about a true fallen. When you come into presence of a true fallen, you feel it in your soul, you feel it in your bones. Every cell, every living cell in your body knows what it is. There's such a repulsion. The first time I experienced this, I was actually living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but a seminarian reached out to me. His parents owned a rental home in a town in Kansas, and this rental home was a duplex, and it was plagued with paranormal activity for decades, to include multiple murders, suicides, You know, there's a murder suicide where a guy went in and shot and killed a toddler with a 12 gauge and then put it under his own chin, hanging. Anyway, then there's a lot of abandonments. People were complaining about this paranormal activity, a lot of abandonments, and they just pick up and leave all everything behind, including dinner on the table once. They found a journal of some teen girl was chronicalizing or journaling demonic activity, and they found voodoo dolls, which were type of dolls that were for protection, actually. So this was just a bad place. The seminarians actually had two brothers that had masters. They all had masters of theology. Another one was a Methodist bishop. Another one was a banker. Go figure. And this guy was a seminarian with the Roman Catholic Church. And I asked him specifically, why did you reach out to me? You know, and they said that they actually tried to get a couple of the dioceses involved, and they didn't want to get involved. The diocese told them to come to me. So I went to the house. You got to go to the location, right? You got to talk to the people. You got to experience things. So I knew that there was nobody living there. They wanted this house cleansed. They wanted this thing gone because Dad had died. She was getting close to going on hospice. They didn't want to leave a mess for somebody else. So nobody was living there. The electricity and water were both shut off. So I pull up in one driveway. It was a twin home. And she pulled up. Oh, yeah, I got to sweeten it a little more. The house was originally built in the late 1800s and moved into town and turned into a twin home. And it was owned by a local Christian college up until 1976, where they used it as faculty housing. Okay. And 76 is when this family bought it and, you know, turned it into revolving income. So we pull up into the driveway, and I pull up into one, you know, the little old lady's in the other, and me being a good gentleman, I get out and I go help her out of the car. But I brought with me my daughter, who's absolutely, she's just psychic. You know, she's not just sensitive, she's just absolutely psychic. And I brought her with, and her friend who'd like to go with, and, you know, they were kind of a team. We pulled up into the drive. Actually, there's two stories. We noticed the dormers. One was light and one was dark. The light one, the blinds were shut. The dark one, the blinds were open. We actually had that conversation. So when I get out, go talk to the little old lady, and here comes my daughter's friend rolling up, says, "Hey, somebody just peered out that window with the blinds." And I looked up and I see the blinds split, you know, like the neighborhood creeper, and it went, and then it even twisted closed a little more. You know, they're kind of at an angle. They just closed even more. We know that nobody's supposed to be in that house. So I thought there were squatters. You know, maybe there's a meth lab going on or something. I get the keys. I told her, you know, hey, I think somebody's in the house. Let me have the key and go in and chase them out. I go in the front door and I make a beeline to the back door, and it's dead bolted. It's locked shut. It's not even a deadbolt that you can have a hand turn. It's a key on either side, and it's shut. There is no basement. I make a beeline upstairs. You know, I've got my manhood on, right? I'm going to confront this person who's in there, and it's just a 2-bedroom with a bathroom. I don't have a lot of places to look. There's nobody there. And then suddenly this terror comes over me. I'm talking about a terror that I've never felt before. I taste metal in my mouth.
Wow.
I just started shaking. I just absolutely was just standing up. I actually got a little nosebleed. I mean, it was just a complete terror you know, I've seen full-bodied apparitions. I've seen things that I've had a 44 Magnum 6-shot revolver pointed right in my face once. This is beyond that. This is beyond that fear. And this was just absolutely, I am damned. And then just like that, it was gone. So this demon is what we would call a resident demon. We did go back. My job was I didn't want to perform an exorcism on this place. I actually got a call from a gal out in California who I've never met. And she got a hold of me through Facebook, called me through Facebook. I had never met, and she actually knew your boys from Ghost Adventures. Yeah, personal friend. She was
Wow.
on the show like 3 times. Kimber Chase. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
she says, hey, this thing that you're encountering it's a Nephilim. You cannot mess with this. This thing saw you coming years away, and get your daughter out of there. And she said that this apparently, and again, I don't want to drag anybody down, but apparently it was the same one that was messing around with your boys a few times because of something that they have been doing. So
That's-
it's webs, right? So I absolutely get my daughter out there. I'm not taking her back. We do go back. I take a team back. I tag this new psychic that I hadn't worked with before. It's a guy, a psychologist that I had been working with. I brought him with, and my wife. We all go back, and I'm going to get this evidence so I can send it to a bishop, convince him to spend the airfare. Actually, the family would pay for it to fly in and perform this exorcism, but he's not going to do it just on my whim. And we arrive that night to perform it. This discernment is what we're going to do. It's not really a ghost hunt. You do different things. We're talking to the seminarian and his daughter. He was married once, had a daughter, and in the living room. And as we're down there, this chest, about a 300-pound chest, got picked up and tossed across one of the rooms upstairs.
Oh, that's when I would have ran downstairs and said, you know what, you need to burn it down.
That's when Chris has followed Austin running out the door.
So Chris follows me out the door. I'm coming back in the house with matches and gasoline, and we're good to go.
Well, here's the thing. You know, the night was crazy. We never got an exorcist out there. The lady passed, and the family sold off the property, just like that. And people are living in it, and they're still complaining.
Is that part when you sell a house, you're like, hey, this is haunted? Is that part of like selling the house clause, or is that like you don't have to say it at all? Hell no.
We're selling my parents' house, and I know it's haunted. And I specifically asked the real estate agent, is disclosure? Do we have to say disclosure?
Yeah.
It's haunted. He just kind of looked at me and kind of
really
walked off. So
I'm trying to figure out why sage is burning every time you're showing the house. You're just.
I smell Catholic.
Yeah. We had a couple of questions real quick for you. One, Dave Pickert, he says, why is the spirit not gone to either heaven or hell? What are your feelings? Why are they stuck?
Dave, he's going to challenge me. So I forget the name of the saint. There is a nun, and I'll have to pull out that nun's name, but this was the nun that was at one point in time shoved into hell for the period of 40 years and returned to that same night that she was actually taken. She was actually shown purgatory. And her explanation of what purgatory was souls that just simply had not risen high enough to be able to gain passage into the kingdom of the Lord. So in order to raise those souls higher, we needed to pray for them. So that's I'll get the name of the saint. I can't, it's on the tip of my tongue. If I wasn't challenged, I'd know who she was. But no, the question is, why aren't they just sinking into hell? And I don't have an answer for that. I think we'd have to. Dave, actually, I know who Dave is, and he's challenged me right now. He's a good old Catholic boy too. So
well, before we move on to like the next question there, one of the things like I've always postured that as as I've struggled with, I grew up devout Christian family, and I've more gone towards the Gnostic side through as I've been going, and one of the ones I've always wrestled with is how just by a simple act of saying, bring me, that repentance thing, how you could have somebody who is a serial killer and the little old lady that serves every day of her life, for 90 years and dies, and they end up in the same location. I'm like, there has to be, some form of, their consequence for your life, the way you lived it.
Sure, but there's also faith. So your faith has to be deep enough in order to be able to ascend into heaven as well, your relationship with Christ. And now we are talking about Judeo-Christianity here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a faith. Now I'm gonna kind of go off on a different
that's fine.
limb here. So we know that even Jesus talks about different types of faith, different levels of faith all throughout the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most prominent ones is, he had told the disciples to cast demons in his name. Well, they tried to cast demon out of this one man, and they couldn't do it. And he says, "Oh, well, you don't have the right type of faith." So, if you think about something, let's kind of take this over to a scientific approach to this. We know that we're electrical devices. We EKGs absolutely prove it, right? We have the law of relativity, and the first law is you cannot create or destroy energy, you can only change it. So when you pass, okay, the only thing that we're missing now is consciousness. So we pass, we're this energy. Now you hear frequency a lot. You hear now here's one of the things that drives absolutely people mad when I tell them, when you have your buzzers, your EMF detectors, you're absolutely not detecting electromagnetic frequencies. You're detecting electromagnetic radiation, and there's a band of frequencies that this device is going to detect. You have no idea what frequency it is. But anyway, the frequency of a person can change based on prayer and meditation. And there absolutely has been studies to this. So if you're a prayerful, faithful person, you are absolutely going to have a higher frequency of this electrical charge, or whatever you want to call it, within you. And that's absolutely what will transcend into the next world. So those who don't will have a lower frequency. Okay.
And that's how you purgatory.
So if you're looking at these parallel worlds, if you're looking at this from a multiple dimension theory, and become a theoretical physicist here, we have Christ that was born. Christ was a unique deity who had this higher frequency that could punch through to the next universe where God is, and this heaven is waiting for us, and be able to create this pathway. And so he gives us this lifestyle and this living on how to raise your energy levels, how to raise your frequency so that you can transcend into that universe. But if you don't, and you don't follow that path, your frequency is going to be as such that you're going to be attracted to a different universe, and that's where God has set hell at.
That kind of ties, maybe Anthony, he was like, how about unsettled finished business in the physical world? I mean, is that one of the things that you find, that this is what's preventing people from passing on to that next?
There is some truth. There is some truth to that.
Thanks for that question, Anthony.
It's more along the lines of somebody who's attached, and it's an attachment. And people do that a lot to their loved ones. They're attached to their loved ones, and they don't let them on because their emotional bond is just so much. They're grabbing onto it and keeping them there in place. That's what you would find moreover. Now, somebody who passes, who just decides not to move on and they want to stay there, because it's their home, it's their house, it's their ownership. That's also an attachment as well. It's just a different reverse of an emotional attachment. So an unfinished business, that would be a vengeful spirit, usually. And vengeful spirits are absolutely not nice spirits to be interacting with.
Those are ones you're going to get the scratches. You're going to get those type of encounters. Now, how do you, kind of like on that, how do you determine whether that's just a vengeful spirit or demonic. I mean, because you always have that. Well, that's a tri scratch. That's a sign of a demon. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because it's the 3.
Yeah,
but
I don't understand. So, the reason why the 3 is because they say it's mocking the Holy Trinity, but in reality, the numerical 3 is powerful among a lot of religions, a lot of beliefs, a lot of faiths are absolutely. It could mean anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's a demon that's scratching you. Human spirits will absolutely scratch you 1, 2, or even in 3 or 4 or 5, but 3 seem to come out the most. Why? A lot of theories, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's demonic. Now, if you're talking about trying to discern whether it's a human spirit or a demonic spirit, you challenge the entity. And there's certain ways, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to come out and say it on your show, but there's certain ways to challenge a spirit into revealing itself. And, you always hear we go after names. Well, we don't necessarily have to go after names. We go after traits more often. We can.
I appreciate that. I like everything on my shelf the way it is. I don't. You start saying it, next thing you know, that skull behind me just smacks me in the back of the head. It's like, it was that episode.
But no, it's honestly, a lot of times there are human spirits who act like demons, and you just treat them the same way at the end. So it's just behaviors. It's more over their behaviors.
No, well, yeah. Just look at the time. You got to wrap it up here. But man, Tim, it has been a pleasure having you on. As I said, I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's been a great talk. I would love down the road to have you back on, talk about the subject a little bit more, in depth in certain areas too. So
I honestly, I absolutely think I should reach out at least after the Super Bowl and Mahomes is kissing that trophy.
Oh,
we got Brady on the field.
Have a good night, Tim.
Brady's crying because he's been sacked.
Have a good night, Tampa Bay.
Yes, absolutely.
I have all the respect for Brady. I mean, look what he's accomplished. I mean, he's the GOAT. Absolutely, he's the GOAT.
I'll give him that.
I mean, any person that can walk around, showing 6 Super Bowl rings on their hands. I mean,
I know it. And then to go to Tampa and yes, every dig to Tampa, but then to go to Tampa and turn that team around just by showing up.
Yeah.
That also shows just how much talent was actually on that team. It just needed to be pulled together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had so many losing seasons. You got all those first-round picks anyway.
You had to finally got them to meet their potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, appreciate the family, sacrificing time with you, and you taking your time out of your night, and everybody. Super Bowl's coming up, we'll just kind of hit everybody. Go Chiefs, go Bucks. We'll hedge your bets there. And so, but sir, thank you again. Appreciate it. Safe journey, as you're on your travels. And thanks again, everybody. You can find them on Facebook. Also, like I said, I'll share it real quick. That was the one that we talked about. You have it up there. The Advent International Order of Exorcists.
Right. And that's monitored by the bishop himself, as well as Joe Thompson. And Joe, he does a really good job of responding and sending it out to the groups of whoever's closest. So
you can go there, contact them, request assistance if you need to, so everybody, and then once again, just really appreciate you coming on. And when we'll definitely, we'll reach out to you. It's like I said, we'll do this again and get maybe a little more in depth, try to narrow it down to a certain topic, instead of a generalized. So that way I'm not pulling you in all different directions and losing your train of thought. Oh, we got you muted.
It was brilliant. No, I can't think of what I said. It was brilliant.
Of course, it's the spirits. They clicked it off just because that we cannot let this information out. Like
I had my 120-pound dog over there drinking. It was loud.
Yeah.
Yes, we understand. Yeah, Austin's got a zoo on his side.
5 or 6, I can't remember.
Yeah. But
there's 5 in here.
Wow. All right. Well, have a great night. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey,
I really
you're
enjoyed
welcome.
the conversation. It was
I
great.
said, yeah, look forward to it. And I'll send you the link out there so you can share it and let people watch it if you want to. So I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Okay. Awesome. Great.
Awesome. Thanks. Have a
Good
great
night,
night,
guys. God bless.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. This was brought to you by Nanny Cakes 407 on Facebook. Go to Nanny Cakes 407. Obviously, give her a phone call, 407-923-2898. In Central Florida, mention us and you're going to save 15% off. And once again, as Tim's pointed out, go Chiefs. And as
I'll take them
two,
out quick if you don't
as the upper square and the bottom square, saying below me is, go Bucks. Me, I'm neutral because my team's not even.
Oh, I don't know if you know that, but
watching.
today is the 6-year anniversary that you should have ran the ball. Just letting you know.
I know. Yes, I know. Oh, it still hurts. You've got the beast mode right back there where it's angrily wanting to run into that end zone, and what do you do?
Only been 5, now it was 6.
Yeah, right into the Patriots. Yes. Oh man, my heart. 3beardspodcast.com is our site. Go check that out. Go to patreon.com/3beardspodcast. Become a beardo. We would love you for it. We would get it, help support us, and it also, we're going to, on our outro, you'll see one of the things that we were able to purchase with some of the money that we get from everybody. So once again, thanks everybody. Social media, we're rebroadcast on Patriot Radio. Download the Zeno radio app. It's 8 p.m. every Thursday night. Thanks and courtesy to J&J Beard Company out of New Jersey. So everybody, thanks again. Tim, appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for watching. And the questions, appreciate it. Everybody, good night.